As an old-fashioned Mickey Mouse cartoon might say, oh boy. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to talk about monopolies. We do it all the time here on this channel. We talk about monopolies, monopolistic actions, practices, etc. In fact, it almost seems like on a once or twice a month basis, at least, we're talking about the subject matter. Occasionally, we've been able to dive into duopolies. Duopolies occur in industries where there's very limited numbers of competitors. This is one of those times. The most well-known duopoly, basically meaning two, is of course in the digital marketplace. We know them as Apple and as Google. We've already talked about them in the last week or so. They control pretty much the entirety of what you can put on your cell phone. Well, most people's cell phone. I mean, it's only about 97% of the market, right? Between those two. This is a problem. It's a big one. It's also a walled garden in a way that, well, is a violation of pretty much all of the antitrust laws on the planet. And somebody somewhere is actually going to do something about it. That someone is in the UK. Let's dive in. Here we go. Now, the UK government itself released a press release yesterday and essentially just threw down the gauntlet. Actually, I don't know if that's quite right. It laid the smackdown on Apple and Google, setting the stage for some very heavy-duty ramifications for both companies. Most likely, anyway. From the release, I'll read, the CMA has launched a market investigation into cloud gaming and mobile browsers after receiving widespread support of its proposals published in June. In fact, you could probably find a video from June that I actually covered that story. And not only all of the things we just went through, but the Competition and Markets Authority, which is what the CMA is in the UK, they've already found that Apple and Google have an effective duopoly and stated as much, at least on mobile ecosystems, that allows them to essentially exercise a stranglehold over operating systems, app stores, web browsers, etc., on mobile devices. Goodness. Couldn't have put it better myself, to be honest with you. Interestingly, no army of lawyers in this case is going to be able to effectively stop this speeding bullet that's headed towards both of these companies. If they determine that there was any adverse effect on competition, they can impose remedies on the businesses that are cited. That would be Apple and Google. And they seem to have already noted some very specific issues just in this release alone. What's more, the CMA itself can actually bring to bear some very broad powers that can force change. This includes directing legislation. It can include governing marketing. It can actually govern how a product is being sold. That's interesting. And more importantly, it can affect the business structure, which can actually require the forced sale of components from the company to increase competition. Yikes. Think breaking up the bells. The BBC also covered this story, and it plays it a lot softer. Well, a little softer anyway. And it highlights the key details that you would, probably want to glean just to be somewhat informed. It's also granting a lot of room for PR speak from both companies. That's not surprising. BBC's pretty soft. But in the UK, 97% of all mobile browsing was done on either an Apple or Android device. Not sure how you can argue that you don't own the market if that's the case. Definitely can't argue that it's not a duopoly. Even one of the financial things that I follow, Seeking Alpha, made note of the story early yesterday. Very early yesterday, almost immediately, right before markets opened. It essentially influenced, perhaps, not just this article, obviously, but it may have influenced, perhaps, stock prices going forward. At least that's suggested by Seeking Alpha. And as we mentioned last week in one of our stories, the App Store is a huge source of revenue for Apple. And Google surely wins in that category as well. I'm sure they do quite well. But Apple is like probably the most efficient walled garden I've ever seen for controlling 30% of everything that goes through the coffers there. It's absolutely insane. This type of in-depth scrutiny won't exist in a vacuum. It will likely spread to other governmental entities tasked with going after, well, antitrust cases. We may not be that far separated from a time when these companies will have to strip away key elements because they're essentially limiting or providing no opportunity for competition, which is a no-no. I hope for everybody's sake that this actually happens rather quickly. The sooner the better. But hey, what do you think? Do you think that these two companies have been exploiting the marketplace for far too long with their very evident, very clear duopoly? I do. Do you think that this could open the door to more competitive marketplaces? That means additional marketplaces that you could utilize with your phone. I think Samsung had a marketplace at one point in time. I know there's a bunch out there in the gaming world. Why isn't there on the phones? Now, will any argument overcome, this is the last question, by the way, will any argument overcome the clear competitive advantage that each company unquestionably has? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything a lawyer can say, a PR person can say, or anybody else, business person can say, that this is a duopoly. It's anti-competitive and it needs to be changed. But hey, what do you think? Utilize the comment section down below and hopefully we can engage in a conversation on this one. A lot of people like to fight me on this stuff. I don't know why. Any type of non-competitive environment isn't good for business, innovation, or obviously the workplace, anybody who works in a given field. So I don't know why there would be pushback against this, but hey, sometimes there is. But I don't mind. We can debate it. Anyway, just utilize the comment section down below. We'll talk about these things and some of the questions that I've posed here today. With that, support independent creators here on the platform. They certainly need your support. Engagement is key to growth when it comes to doing what we do here on any of the platforms that you see us on, and that requires a subscription. A lot of people watching my channel right now and many other channels aren't subscribed to them. And I know it's an extra step. Jeremy from The Quartering talks about it all the time. You have to sign up for an account. Well, please do. It's free. Doesn't cost money. You can even create a fresh email to do so. That's probably one of the reasons that Gmail works for people, is that they can create accounts rather easily for other stuff. Of course, you can definitely hit the bell button, make sure you get notifications for every one of the videos that I drop, or supposedly. I guess it's limited to 5 a day, so always check back with the channels that you enjoy to make sure you didn't miss anything. And finally, the engagement's key. So that like button, the comments, and sharing out everything, that's very, very important indeed to everybody that you follow. It really does help independent creators, so I always encourage it at the end of every video. And with that, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye. Five stories a day, good gravy. And don't forget to check out my Rumble at rumble.com/CultureCasino. Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts. Yay! Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.